Good evening, ladies and gents. We are on our way from Stockholm to the UNESCO acknowledged super fascinating town, Tallinn, with this fantastic ferry boat. This is Tallinn. In the medieval time, this beautiful town gained its wealth and prosperity through trading, and their most important commodity is of course salt. Today we're not going to talk about their salt, rather the incredible treasure of art in this fantastic city. Our first stop is an award-winning art gallery, which is located a few kilometers away from the old town. The museum itself is a political symbol that Estonians are proud of their tradition, especially the visual art. The town is mightily beautiful today, and after a really nice ride with a tram, we are here to one of the greatest art gallery in Europe, Camo. Construction of this huge gallery took place between 2003 and 2006. Its circular shape symbolizes the fact that this is an arena which would bring the past toward the future as the society transformed itself from a rigid socialistic state to a free market, upon which liberty, diversity, and creativity would always be respected by a nation, which strives towards progression and reformation. The huge atrium is a tribute to the European artistic route from the classic period. In the classic section of this museum, we found this masterwork, which reminds me very much of the famous family portrait which were painted by the iconic Edgar Degas. Again, in this portrait, the connection between different family members are almost insignificant. What this lady in the middle signifies is a sense of detachedness, and people around are really not very much interested in what they have to say to each other, rather about the object they focus upon at that moment. And the dismal color of this painting signifies really a sense of restlessness in a time that the comfort life around you cannot ease the fact that you're worried about a distant danger which you know will arrive. The 19th century Estonian visual art is strongly influenced by, among others, the Continental Romantic movement. Important traits such as the individual interpretation of the social change, the conflicting emotions toward the classic Christian dogma, and the idea of evidence-based knowledge. Also a new notion of the human nature in a synchronized society. The biblical paintings were no longer the most prestigious pieces, since the new patrons of the art were the wealthy middle-class buyers. This is a very interesting Cubism painting. There are two women in this painting, and there is a right circle. It could be an apple, which was once upon the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, and the two women have two distinctively different attitudes toward this apple. One of them just look away, and the other is really just close her eyes as if she just want to think about this apple as its flavor, its fragrance, and also its shape. So this painting simply says that in the new age, the women are not simply replica of Eva. They have developed their unique characters, which are very different from the stereotypical idea of a woman in the biblical sense.
Harvey, when we are surrounded by people with very different expectations and personal histories, who has the power to dictate what is right from what is wrong in a society as the absolute values are replaced with individual reflections. When looking at the array of busts upon the floor and from the wall, we feel the sense of confusion. Many of us have been encouraged by our parents that we need to remain self-reliant in our hearts, whilst the society in general still favors a sense of consensus, which are based neither upon the logical deductions nor the rational contemplations.
Look at this. Do you think this is Balovich? No, think again. This is a communist symbol, and what the Soviet Union forced the artists to do is use the language of liberalism to depict the ideal of communism, and this picture really look really cruel for me.
I always thought the attraction of visual art is an emotional inner voyage through time and space. A piece of interesting art enlightens the spectators, also provoking a naive mind to think through a very different chain of causal reaction, which is unfamiliar and sometimes frightening in the first glance. When looking at the nicely crafted artworks, which glorify the idea of socialistic heroism and ideologies, I'm again impressed by the number of the talented artists who are willing to sacrifice their artistic integrity and dignity by serving the huge propaganda machinery.
What a crowd. As a child, I could never appreciate the modern art. I always thought it's really nonsense. But at the age of 40, I really like it because it really represents the fracture of our own life. When looking at each and every piece of artwork and to look at them together, it really makes sense. Everything represents a certain feature which we have been experiencing in our life. Nevertheless, when looking at it as an object itself, it just makes us to question a few of the basic perception we have upon ourselves.
It is difficult to be oneself in the age of digitalization. When reading millions of other people's thoughts through various blogs and forums, it is easy to realize that we all belong, in some sense, to the minority groups as the entire nation progresses toward the direction which we do not always understand. When we look at each fragment by itself, the confusing feeling is apparent. When seeing a number of pieces together, the sense of confusion and frustration gives me, strangely enough, comfort over the fact that I'm not the only one who finds everything difficult to apprehend from time to time.
After 2 hours visiting indoors, now we're going to visit the nearby palace with its beautiful garden and the Baroque edifice. This palace was once a present from the Russian Tsar to one of the most significant emperors in the Russian history, that is Catherine the Great.
For me, the Italian Baroque style is the most flamboyant architecture form, which often symbolizes both a sense of insecurity and a need to assimilation, howbeit its energetic form language signifies a sense of independence.
like to dance in a ball, in a castle, it could be really boring. People are cold, people are conventional, but it is really fabulously wonderful.
Royal Palace is one of the most popular tourist spots in Tallinn. I would like to know why people like to visit an old royal palace, to admire its grandeur, or just simply to follow a top attraction list. Each beautiful summer flower in the garden is only an element that makes up a huge army of decorations. When being inside the palace, it is interesting to scrutinize the feelings of someone whose decision would affect a huge group of people's future, for the better or worse. When we are the followers, we always know how each change would influence our personal lives. Nevertheless, we have little idea of how other people would assess the same decisions.
This is the Japanese garden in Lindohf, and this palace was built in a time when the culture from Far East was considered as something extremely mysterious and exotic. So many of the royal families did construct such a beautiful garden as some jewel of their gigantic palace. And today this is just a very nice secluded area, and there's so many beautiful flowers which are scattered around everywhere. So this is really a nice place.
Glorious European royal parks, the exotic decorations from the Far East are not rare sights. Nevertheless, the ideas from other regions never occupied people's minds as the mainstream philosophy from the West did. Did the European really appreciate the influences from other continents seriously in terms of the symbolic eccentricity or the underlying religious ideas, or did they only use artistic style to express their own desire to escape from their everyday life?
The performance art once changed the history of Estonia. Just look at this song field. I've seen this in different documentaries like a million times. When I'm standing here, it's still so difficult to understand when people are scattering all around this field and singing their beloved folk songs in Estonian in a time when the Soviet Union really did their best to protect their power with military, with arms, with everything. The power of art is beyond any worldly weapon. The power of art is about express what you feel deep down in your heart.
Possible to change people's mind. Someone says it is possible, with personal stories. Other claims the transformation occurs as people move from one place to another. For me, it is a choice, a freedom, a natural right to decide whose ideas I would like to listen to. When such freedom has been confiscated from each citizen with weapon, any sense of human dignity is gone. Hence, the meaning of life also diminishes to being a puppet from birth to death. When the last drop of hope is gone, then the idea of life is no longer interesting. If a huge group of people have the same feeling, any sense of governmental intervention is worthless.
A day glides to its end. Now we're back on board to go back home to Sweden. Farewell, Tallinn. I'll see you next time.
Tallinn is an easy city to explore by yourself. The bus and tram drivers often speak decent English. In most tourist attractions, the information pamphlets are printed in either English, Russian, or Estonian. There are a number of street maps in both English and Estonian.